offside.
Welcome back to another episode of No Offsides. I'm Dan Dean here, and I have a special guest, Ken Maese. He is the BNF Rinkster BNF. Wow, I butchered that. We're gonna go with Epic Rinkster BNF head coach. How are you today, Ken?
Yeah, it's a mouthful. I know. So we try to shorten it as much as we can, but it trips a lot of guys up. So don't worry about it.
Just add another 10 sponsors on there. We got it going.
Hey man, we love sponsor support. So we're going for a record. Although I will say, like, I don't think our name's any longer than Palma, Lebeda, Golden Knights. So yeah, Epic, Ringster, Blood and Feathers, or Unified Conics, Black Ice. It's
Yeah.
all relative.
Yeah, I mean you can't forget when you got to throw champion in there for Black Ice 1 year as well. So
So funny. Everybody's like, choose them wisely.
Yeah, but so we gotta the summer is about to be here, right? And so you got a busy weekend coming up. But before we even jump into that, let's talk new jerseys, new logo. I mean, you're coming in fresh.
Yeah, I'd say so. Like it's a new season for us, and we did we transitioned sponsors for one. Still kept the Epic, but excited new opportunity. With rink rat hockey and Rinkster, and the boys can't be more excited. It's a fresh roster, fresh new uniforms. You're right. It's kind of a rebrand, and we're loving it so far. We're really excited.
Oh, good. I mean, between jerseys, logos, the new sponsor of Rinkster. Is it just, where, was there a reason why you went Rinkster instead of Lebeda? Is it just kind of, fresh start, kind of new beginnings?
No, that's a great question. So we've been with the Lebeda for a little over 3 seasons, and obviously I've always grown up. I was a Lebeda guy, and Rob Chormud and everybody, the group at Lebeda, fantastic individuals and great support. I think whenever you're a team up and coming, and you're going through season after season, I mean, there's just some I'd say some natural progressions that tend to take place, in terms of, on and off the rink. And, naturally when, as a program it's trying to compete with some larger, I like to call them big box programs, out there, it's money tends to come into the play quite a bit. And there's just some practical constraints that hold you back. And you want to try to break through a lot of those barriers. And, when the opportunity came along, which they don't come along very often,
sure.
With rink rat hockey, it was a tough decision, but you have to think about the organization, the players, goals that you've set for the upcoming seasons and beyond. So short-term, long-term stuff, and that's really just kind of where it boiled down to. It just seemed like a good fit, and as tough of a decision as it was, we feel like we've made the right one going forward, and we're excited for our sponsorship with Rinkrat, and what it holds for us in the future.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, they got those the new Tricksters out now too, so I'm sure some of your guys will be rolling on them.
Yeah, they already are, So it's a great wheel, and it's a great company, and so far it's been easy. Everything's been easy, so we really appreciate it.
Good. I can say though, like, new logo, thousand times better than the last logo. I mean, and I like the last logo, but it kind of gives me throwback Coyotes feel with the split face.
Right.
But um, but no, I love the logo. It's clean. Little insider tell is I got a DM, and apparently JJ Fecto had a say in some of the jersey design.
Of course, enter Spectre right off the jump. Yeah, I will just say the the idea and everything like behind the rebrand, everything from the rebrand to the uniform design. Yeah, JJ's had a lot of help in in designing a few things. He's definitely one for input, so that's why we love him. But I would just say I think when it really boiled down to when we were talking about about what we wanted to see in this year's uniforms and the logo design, redesign, I should say, and everything was, kind of the idea of, okay, 3 seasons in, we were looking to we wanted to have a fresh start, kind of almost like a reset. And, so something that was maybe uniquely rink rat and uniquely something that really said, hey, that we've kind of arrived. And yeah, we've been we're really excited for it. The uniforms are great. The feedback we've been getting from everybody's been really, really positive. And yeah, I think you put the nail on the head. A little throwback to coyotes on our darks, which are we call them our desert foxes, and
Okay.
then we've got our all whites, which are our winter. As you know,
All right. Sorry, I think we had a little feedback there. That popping noise again. Um, but yeah, no, I mean, it's I I think I'm gonna I'm gonna go out on a limb here for you, and I'm gonna say, because the play by play likes to rank jerseys every year. I think they'll be in the talkings this year. I think you'll end up in the top five for sure.
we hope so. I mean, it's a lot of effort's gone into them for sure. Like it's one of the funnest parts about I would say about having the team is like getting to design all the
Oh yeah.
the logos and the colors and the unique style of the uniforms, and Rinkrat's got some of the best uniforms out there. I mean, hands down. And so we were really excited to see everything we've got come to fruition on their tarps and pants. And we've got some gloves coming in as well for the boys.
Okay.
But these tariffs aren't making it easy to get these things through shipping. So
Yeah, yeah.
we're it's like glove watch 2025 right now for the summer, but we're hoping that they're going to arrive in time. So we'll see what happens.
Well, if we don't see him this weekend, I'm sure we'll see him in Pama.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You'll see him at Palma for sure. Yeah, we'll have some fresh ones for Palma, no doubt. So
Now, we're only days away from tours, right? A much bigger pool than there was last year. We're coming in with 12 teams. Palm was back in the mix. You have a little bit of freeze. There's now Hockey Plus PA. You know, Black Ice 2.0 that came out strong last year. The Wings are there. A lot of the normal names and then some fresh names as well. But last year, and I know you guys haven't gotten in the win column yet as a club, right? But I mean, that Car Shield game last year had to have brought in some confidence to the group.
yeah, I think over when we're talking about summer specifically, uh, summers have been traditionally pretty tough for us.
Mm-hmm.
It's summers when all the pro teams have some of their more established rosters and players, and I will just say, uh, so I think right now, 5 years, like, I think on this, um, so of that we three tournaments, or you're talking about tours, and Palma. We haven't really competed much in Narch, but that's only because not because Narch isn't a fantastic tournament. Darren does a remarkable job there. It's just that most of our players are East Coast, and it's like logistics always boils down to logistics for us.
Sure.
And we don't like to travel unless we've got a good majority of our boys. But I mean, between at least just like Palma and tours, you know, in 20 games, you're going to look at 97% easily, have been against, top four, top five in our sport. I mean,
Yeah.
Car Shield, Black Ice, Palma, for the teams that the only team we haven't played, which we're kind of excited about coming into this year with tours, is Roadrunners. But like I said, we've always drawn extremely hard schedules. So I don't, look at numbers like, so arbitrarily, like 0, 18, and 2. If you look at our winter record and even like things like SummerSlam records, I mean, you're looking, I think we're like, I don't know, it's like 11, 16, and 2 or something. And since like 2022, and we've had, I think since 2022, we've had 2 final appearances during winters and SummerSlam. So, I mean, like, the team is tempered for sure. And I think that, when you kind of start scratching away a little bit at the competition we've seen, I think it tells a larger story about who we are and what we are as a program,
Oh, sure. I mean, you know the draws. I mean, they especially when you're new, you get the hardest schedules, right? I mean, it's not
some teams do.
Yeah.
Some teams do.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's not an
Some
untold.
teams.
It's not an untold mystery.
Yeah.
It is very apparent. It is very clear that, there are certain teams that are, and usually if you're new, you're gonna get the gauntlet. Now, as you've noted,
you should. Yeah, you should. Yeah.
I mean, if anything, sure, you get the gauntlet over the past several years. I mean, it should make your team stronger. If you, and I always bring this up too, and it's like you look at the Roadrunners, and they got shit kicked for years.
Great example.
Right, and so and you got to take your bumps and bruises and your bloody nose, right, and then you got to pick your head up and just go right back at it.
Yeah, I think you raise a really good point. I mean, I think, and not to take anything away from any of the other teams, but just solely based off of lending to what you're saying, like Roadrunners is a really great example. Anthony Villante, he does a fantastic job with that program. I actually wore a jersey. I played for him and many years in another life, and he's always just been one of those people that is just really deeply rooted in the sport. And what he's been able to accomplish organically, is really, really something that I respect, I admire, and to be honest with you, like even with our program, I've really tried to say, okay, that is a model by which many teams should be looking to try to mimic and follow suit on. So yeah, like again, when you look at our record on paper, right? I don't see us as that kind of team where you should look at that and just instantly dismiss, or maybe, or definitely don't turn your nose, because, like we are a team that we play the game hard, and we catch you sleeping. It's going to be a long day in the office for you.
Yeah.
But absolutely, I know that, we're progressing forward, and, this year, I think, we put a lot of effort and work into our program and our players, and I think it's going to show and pay some dividends out there this summer. So I'm excited.
I look forward to this summer. I always look forward to, watching, BNF. I have followed the Roadrunners all the way through from the beginning. It's just nice to watch quality roller hockey in the summertime.
Yeah.
But you have your first game's Hockey Plus, and let's be honest here. I think last year you got shafted in the scheduling, right? I think you were like first game and last game of the day. Was that you?
Hey, it is what it is.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah.
said, like it's it doesn't matter who we really play, and honestly, like to be fair, schedule wise, team wise, like we continue to want to play the best.
Sure.
Like that's why we're there. So yeah, absolutely.
Well, you got Hockey Plus, so I think that could be a statement game for you. And then you go back and you get your Car Shield rematch from last year.
Yeah,
Um, and then you got Unified Conics Black Ice. Then you got your new matchup that you haven't played yet as Roadrunners. As
yeah.
as usual. I mean, I don't think any team's usually a walk just like a, what game? What am I looking for? Like
Yeah,
a
glossing
boost.
over them.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But you I can tell you this. I was gonna I was gonna put something out there on social media and just say to all like tag tours. Well, you guys aren't going to Narch, but it would have been funny if I can get the best of three little beta freeze matchup.
Oh, yeah. That seems to be a matchup. A lot of folks are talking about wanting for sure. Yeah, that's interesting. I'll be honest. Like, eh, anybody who wants it can have it. They can have a slice. Like, I'll be honest. Be careful what you wish for. Like, everybody wants it until they're on the rink with us. So, you know, and I don't know. At the end of the day, like, I don't ever go out and try to make predictions against teams that we play. I just say, we prepare the same way for everybody. Like we prepare. If you're, if you're a new team coming in that we happen to get lucky enough to draw, which is few and far between, but we're going to prepare for you the same way that we prepare for, Black Ice, Car Shield. Like the attitude and the effort is going to be the same, and we're going to go out and play a very physical and a really hard game. And at the end of it, I can promise you, whatever it's W or L on the column, you're gonna look to your, look to your team, mates, and basically be like, we hate playing those guys. You know what I mean? Like they're not fun to play.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Now, I mean, just glossing over, top eight make playoffs for tours, which is actually, for having 12 teams, uh, that's pretty standard.
Yeah, that's a healthy amount of teams for
Yeah.
sure. I mean,
You
yeah,
know,
without a doubt.
I feel like these are some your normal teams coming in here to tours that are usually every summer. There's a few in here that like obviously Beta Freeze are new, but there's other ones here that are they just keep changing their name every year, right? So it's not really new faces on the scene. You have 2.0 last year, Car Shield Blast last year, right? Chemistry is chemistry is always chemistry. It's just they just change their sponsor.
Well, I think the opposite is chemistry for, so I'm not going to additional sponsor. Um, had some um, interact trying to figure out, the super also they have guys that is also a roster and a team right now that's kind of going through some transitions as I understand it.
Hey, Kenny.
Um, yeah.
Uh, I'm not sure if it's. I don't know if you have your mic plugged in somewhere, But that
Yeah.
because I think you just got cut out for that entire what
Oh,
you just said. So if you
here,
please
let's
would be
see.
able to repeat it, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, can you hear me right now?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so what I was saying is chemistry has actually been a team that's actually going through a little bit of transition. Like
okay,
they've transitioned their roster a little bit, and they've been kind of playing around trying to find the right recipe. Um, what they feel like will work for them. And then 2.0 Black Ice is also a team that's been kind of going up and down a little bit in terms of their identity, but all good teams, all good players. I think, but I mean, actually, believe it or not, like a lot of the teams this year that I see at tours in terms of their rosters have got a lot of guys moved around, and a lot of names kind of in and out of the lineups, and they're playing around with some different things. And I
yeah,
think that's mostly because obviously we lost snipers, mission snipers this year. They just banded, and a lot of those players, were swooped up on and moved around. And,
yeah.
you can only have so many guys on a roster, so when you bring a couple new guys in from snipers, and other guys need a place to go, and it kind of just changes everything in terms of the dynamics. So,
Yeah, it's definitely changed the field a little bit on who's playing with who.
yeah,
You got guys I think that are still also in Europe, even though the season's over, but some guys stay over there a little extra longer.
yeah.
Um, so, which, one of your players I just saw got a contract to go play over in Europe next year.
Oh, Arnie Asuna.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We're excited for him, and I mean, you love to see that sort of thing. I mean, that's kind of, you know, another big part of like why we started this team, was to give players an opportunity, a home, allow them some entry into the sport, and and to grow their game, and in some cases make that evolution. And so
yeah,
we're really excited
yeah.
for sure.
That's awesome. I mean, I'm pretty sure he was in Wish Cup all week, just walking around the outside of the rink. I mean, I know he was there for over 30 and stuff, and he was there for pro. Um, it was, it, it was. It's funny. He just walks around. He's not a very tall guy, but he walks pretty broad shouldered, so you always know exactly who he is.
But he, yeah, I mean, when he goes to character, they're gonna really enjoy him out there in France.
Yeah, yeah. Now, you have one of my favorite goaltenders. How were you able to get Nicky to unretire? Because last
I
year was supposed to be
basically,
his last.
I basically just, I basically was like, hey, you, like you and I both know you're not done. You still got a little bit more in the tank, and I actually, believe it or not, with Nicky, there was he had his plans and what he wanted to do, but I think what it really boiled down to was after having a conversation and letting him know a lot about what we did with the roster,
Okay.
and what we'd been doing with the rebrand, and moves we were making with the program. I think it was hard for him not to get excited about it in the background.
Okay.
And then I think one day he was just like, hey, you know what? Maybe this is something I want to be a part of still. Like maybe I'm not ready to retire. Maybe this sounds like something to be excited about, and I want to, I could really lend a hand in making, giving you guys that extra bump, alongside Max Curry in that. And yeah, we were excited, but Nicky's a hell of a goaltender. I
Yeah.
mean, to be honest with you, I don't think he gets um, as much kudos and respect that he should, because I mean that's a guy who, how he is not national program, national um, he was beyond. I don't understand. I mean, let's talk about the guy,
Kenny, I think your mic just stopped working, or I can't hear you anymore. Your your microphone stopped working. Your I can't hear you. I I don't know what's going on. Interesting.
Hear me?
Now I can, yeah.
I hear. Oh, now I can hear you,
Oh, that's crazy.
dude. I don't know.
I don't know what's going on.
You can just edit that out, right? Technical difficulties.
That's all right.
No, could you hear what I was saying though?
It started popping and then you just cut out completely. So I'm not a.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, it's all good.
No, I was just saying, like it just blows me away that a guy like Nicky Whiteock, hasn't had an opportunity to play USA. I think that's like, I think about that all the time. How that's kind of a shame because he's a guy who faces 50 shots in a game, in the last few years, and like he's easily one of the, I'd probably say top 4 goalies, in my opinion, in our sport. So
yeah, I mean he's one of my favorite, and I'll say that forever because I mean I love his personality. I love what he brings to the game.
Oh yeah,
and he's great on and off the rink too. So
off the rink, oh man, he's a beauty. He's one of my he's somebody I fortunate enough to say is a dear friend of mine. And but I mean, and I'm not just saying, like, when I say like advocating for him for a national team, it's purely based on his performance. Like some of the saves I've seen this guy make over the years, it's like in our games, it just blows me away.
Oh yeah,
he's good. He's very good. We're real lucky to have him.
Oh, for sure. Now, here's one because I think you guys catch a lot of flack. So I'm curious if you'll answer this, and if not, it's all right. But what are your thoughts about the criticism that BNF gets whenever your team name is brought up in a conversation?
Well, that's a loaded question. Like, in what way? Do you have? Can you elaborate?
Well, it's like, well, I sent you some DMs, right? That's just the, that kind of stuff, right? I mean, there's people going on a limb to like throw shade at BNF and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I get you. Yeah, I think it's very easy. I think at times in our sport, right, to look at teams and kind of turn your nose at them, or like, or try to weigh and measure them, from a distance. And I always laugh, because like, what's that? I always watch Ted Lasso. You ever watch that show?
Yeah.
There's a scene in there where he talks about like, people, not being curious, like they're just,
for sure.
Standing on a pedestal, not really being curious about what goes in. But the truth is, this team, a lot goes in behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know about to make it work. I mean, we have a tremendous amount of effort and individuals that, like, they're just everything from recruiting to gaining sponsorship support to like fostering and cultivating players, and I think a lot of times when the criticism comes in from teams, it's often from a place of like, well, we just can't see why they can't, they haven't pulled success yet, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, too, it's like, well, we also don't have an Amex card that we just swipe regularly, it's a little frustrating at times to hear, some individuals, talking about like, well, the secret to their success is like, it just, leaning on culture and things like that, when you're like, well, listen, when you're calling up these guys, your players, and I mean I know a lot of the names of some of these teams and these players. It's like, you're not sitting there talking about your culture. You're spending more time, talking about like what your players are getting and the hotels and the flights and who you're flying in from Europe and the fancy gloves and all these different crazy things, right? And that can be a little frustrating at times because and then to hear them take shots at teams like us, where it's like, hey, we do everything purely organic, and we are truly growing the team culture from within. Like we don't go out. We don't try to poach other guys and other players. We try to have authentic conversations, recruit, release players, or give guys who want a shot to truly play in the sport that may have been overlooked opportunities. And I think because of that, anybody who's played for us, from within, from more of an emic perspective, like will say like, hey, what they're doing here is something special. And I think at the end of the day, like I don't really judge, or
Sure.
pay much attention to the things that people say on the outside. Like,
Yeah.
I will though say that, just if you're gonna listen, just be who you are, be authentic. Like if you're a team that has a lot of money backing you, then just lean on it and just be like, hey man, we've got a tremendous amount of resources. Like CarShield, they've got tremendous amounts of resources. They don't front about it, like they've got tremendous superstar players and they have a big budget. But the sport needs teams like us. They need teams to be able to show people a pathway to be able to successfully mine and cultivate a pro team without a lot of the dollars and cents, and show that it's capable to be done, And without teams like us, I mean, nobody. Let's be real. Like our sport has grown pretty stale, and nobody really cares about seeing. This probably might rub people the wrong way, but nobody cares about seeing Black Ice play. CarShield in the championship game for the 50th time. Nobody cares, like not, at least not new people. It doesn't really draw new people into the sport. But say what you will, people do show up and sit down to watch us take, CarShield into overtime on game one of tours and into a shootout.
Yeah.
Like it's exciting and they root for that, and we love that. And there is a place for teams like us. And I will just tell you that just to bring up Roadrunners as we kind of keep moving forward, like our time is going to come, and everybody laughs until it turns, right? And we're getting closer and closer, and and I also say this, like to all those teams that like sit there and like to talk, right? Or it's not even teams, it's really just people, who may have their opinions and their criticisms. This is our 4th year as a program, right? Our first year as a program, we were invited to we competed and earned our way in through a summer plan into the Palma Pro Invitation. First year.
Yeah.
In year 2, we were invited. Year 3, I mean, obviously we were a team that got relegated, with the young roster down into a play-in format. But year 3, we were invited to be there. And year 4, we were invited again.
Yeah.
And when I see these like ranking systems of like, ranked at the bottom, number 42 on the, 46 on like, super pro roller hockey rankings and this and that, I'm like, why is it that if there's all these teams that are better than us, right? And I think everybody would universally agree that Palma Pro is like the pinnacle, right?
Yeah.
If we are like a number 46 team, why do we keep getting the invitation to come to the best, tournament format, the most highly sought after tournament, in our sport, right?
Yeah.
What does Tim and Greg know that other guys don't, right? You got to ask yourself that question. And so again, like it goes back to like, we played 20 games in 5 years, and all of them against the best pro teams, right?
No, and you got the rankings too, right? It's like, okay, this pro team, you have pro teams from Paiha on there that have your players on it.
Yeah, right. It's interesting, but also too, like, I mean, I think I think when you're looking at like that ranking system, I think the trouble with it is that it is a ranking system meant to be objective, but it has like so much subjectivity behind the scenes, right?
Sure.
Like on its face, you're like, well, we're just taking, you know, we're taking all the scores, right? And that's how, for 5 years, and that's how we're basing it. But like I told you before, like, well, when you have a team of a bunch of guys that just kind of like, okay, well, we got some sponsorship pricing and we bought a bunch of uniforms, and then we got some free wheels, and we went played one tournament and we went 0-4-0, right?
Yeah.
Is somehow that warrants you to not only, be a pro team, considered a pro team, but you get to be ranked above teams that have played like 20 games over 5 years at multiple tournaments and against nothing but like the top 5 best teams in the sport repeatedly, right? It's not a fair comparison. And if you want to have, there's nothing wrong with having win-loss tie rankings,
Sure.
but they need to be, there needs to be some way to weight them. There needs to be some ratios or quotients involved, and there needs to be some established criteria as to like what defines a pro team, right? And who's making these definitions and who's making these, who's making these rules. And otherwise, like if you don't do those things, it's and you're just putting that kind of stuff out there. It is saying a lot, those numbers and those rankings are saying a lot, but they're not really saying the things that you think they are.
Yeah.
And especially not to anybody who's really serious in the sport.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
that's just my opinion.
And I think if you put it out there and it says like, one, if teams don't play in any of the big 3, they shouldn't even be in the rankings. And then also you're really going to get it, define who's playing pro and what teams are actually on the scene by saying 2 out of 3, right? And then and there you cut the list almost more than half.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of those teams are winner wars, Narch winner, Tours winner, right? And it's just like, okay, I get messages all the time, and it's like, you share a team wins, and then it's just like, it's winner wars, or it's it's Tours winner or Narch winner. It's like, I understand, that it's the winner and all the talent's not necessarily there, but it's
tough. Winter Wars is hard to win.
Sure.
Winter Wars East is way harder to win than West is, which, not that the competition isn't great on West, but like just the guys that show up for East, like the talent in the East Coast is just, they're tough. And which is, obviously for us, we go there and we've had success there. I will say this much. It's one of the things I hear from a criticism standpoint all the time too, is like I also hear like, well, you play more tournaments. You got, develop that chemistry with each other, play more tournaments, right? But it goes back to like, well, hey, that's easy to say, right? Like, but we're, be pragmatic here for a second. Like unless you're maybe Car Shield or Palma, right? Mm-hmm. Or, there's some short lists here or potentially snipers at the time. But like, there's no pro team on that list has got the level of money and resources to travel year round, and we are one of the few teams that do travel through winter, right? But to travel coast to coast, all these different places, to go play in Europe, right? Like that is like not, like again, and when you are a mid-market team like we are, like, and you're negotiating sponsorship deals and everything like that, it is very much like sponsors are like, and hey, you're negotiating how many tournaments you get to play a season.
Yeah.
And I have yet to meet a sponsor out there necessarily yet that is saying like, hey, we're going to bankroll your hotels, your flights, endless tournaments. And these guys also don't have endless time away from work, That is not the sport that we're in right now. There's some constraints that you have to take into consideration when you're making those sort of critiques,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and yeah, it's, the roller world is not, and the certain teams have that bankroll, right? But like, you're looking at 2000s into the 2010s, right? And you got a little more teams that get sponsored just their own money and throwing gear out there, right?
Sure.
That doesn't happen anymore.
No,
Because
those days are over.
Yeah, well, because it's shown too over the years that like when a sponsor does throw something out there, guys stick with what they want to wear. So it's not necessarily going to be like here's some fresh wheels, and the guy's like, that's not the wheel company that I wear, and it's like okay,
yeah.
Well,
or it's like, hey, play more tournaments and you'll attract better players. Like, nobody is going to leave CarShield. You know what I mean? To go anywhere but another big box team. Like, because for it doesn't matter what the culture is. I mean, if you're trying to tell me that all those players are like culture based only, that's first culture based. Like, hey, listen, come on over, and we've got a culture for you. Because like, I will just say this much, like. We are certainly the type of team that walks the talk. So when it comes to our sponsors and our players, and like why we don't have endless resources, we do everything we can. I would put us up against anybody behind the scenes. Like really come along and see what we do for our players to support them. We do a lot. We are very like player centric with our team. We trust the talent. We do everything we can to remove as many barriers as possible to ensure that our players feel like they can focus on just getting out there and playing hockey, doing what they do best, right?
Yeah.
But our relationships with our sponsors, we do very much to give back to our sponsors, to line up where they tell us to come stand and do everything we can to really promote them and as good ambassadors. And I think because of that, it's made the ease of doing business, simple in many cases, but it's allowed us to move further and gain more organically in terms of through trust, right? And we are growing and getting in more every day. Believe me, like more opportunities are coming in, and as we see those opportunities coming in, they are not falling to the wayside. They are going right into the players and who are seeing dividends from it. So. It's actually never been a better time, to be a part of us. Like we do a lot for our guys, and we're going to continue to do that, and we think that it's good. It's an investment well made. So.
Well, and you guys just recently had, because I've been seeing a lot of like Arnie and Wydock doing was it lightning
rod energy?
Yeah.
Love those. I don't know what to think of those. I don't think they should quit their day jobs, but the lightning rod energy deal that we have in terms of our sponsors is great. It's a boost. The guys love it. Off the rink, on the rink. I've never been a real big fan of energy drinks, or energy supplements, and this isn't just a plug, but it's really good. I mean, holy geez. I mean, you got to be careful. Take like a little cap of it. You drink the whole thing, you're gonna have like a rocket up your ass for like the whole day into next week, So, but they've been really great supporters. I think that's one of the best deals we could have ever done, and we're in good company because I mean, they've got some boys in the in the NHL that they support too, and it's
Hey, I mean, they seem like they like to have company. Yeah, they seem like they like to have fun, and that they shoot video promos. They're always putting content up. Yeah,
go follow two goalies. Those guys are hilarious. Yeah, their content is funny stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Now,
that's funny.
We've talked about a lot, and so you've been coaching for a little while now, right? And so, what I want, well, not what I want to know, but it's like, for anyone listening now or now on the live stream or in the future when they watch the VOD, what do I have here? Well, all right. What is some advice you'd give someone trying to get better in the sport of roller?
To get better in the sport of roller. I would say that there's two things, right? Well, maybe three. And I it's funny you're mentioning this because I recently did a camp in Texas for a youth camp for BNF, and I got asked the same question, when it came to a lot of the boys and the parents and the girls that were there,
Okay.
It was a mixed bag. We had some players that were really skilled and others that were just starting to learn and getting their mechanics. And and I will just say this. Um, the first thing you need to do to get better at hockey is you've got to be courageous. You got to be brave. Hockey is a tough sport, whether you're playing roller or ice, right? It's something I always tell my players all the time. Like when it comes to the puck along the boards, I'm like, hey, you want to play along the boards, you either got to be fast, or you got to be tough, right?
Oh yeah.
You got to get there first, otherwise, be prepared. You're going to take some licks to walk away with it. But I always tell players, like anybody who wants to get better, be brave. Be courageous because you're going to fall. You're going to make mistakes. Things aren't always going to go right. You're going to have tough days of practice, tough games, tough experiences. Tough teammates, tough coaches, right? And you've got to just be prepared to take that, and come out the other side of it because you will.
Yeah.
I would say the second thing I would tell, um, you know, anyone who wants to get better is learn to ignore, you know, the naysayers.
Sure.
Like, and particularly if you're a young person in our sport trying to get better. One thing I notice is that they're always kids. I always tell them like, players progress at different rates. I know when I was younger, I was never the biggest or the fastest or had the best hands. I was on a lot of things, right? But I kept working, and people told me all the time that you're not going to be able to compete and do this or that, and there's, and give up and things like that. But I just kept working and working and working, and I kept working and working when other people stopped working. And eventually, as I got older, when it really mattered, right? And I was put head to head with those same kids who used to skate circles around me. All of a sudden, I was more of a standout player because they got complacent, and I ignored and just kept doing what I knew was right. Stay on that course. Um, and then I would say, the only other thing I would say is you have to have fun.
Sure.
I feel like hockey is unique in that it's a sport that like it brings a lot of joy. And
yeah.
if you don't have any joy when you're doing it, if you're not having a great time, whether it's with the boys or out on the pond,
Yeah.
On your own time, if you're not, my dad, when I was growing up, I'll share a personal note. When I was younger, my dad would take me out and I would go, do my thing,
Yeah.
right? But one of the fondest memories I have is after I was finished up and I got out on my gear, my dad would sit down with me and he would buy me a Coke, and we would sit down and just talk about anything but sports, just about everything in it, but sports. And as I grew up, I found a love for the game because not because of my dad was constantly like, hey, you need to do this or that, or how do you feel about this, and but because every time I step on to the rink and I play, I think about those moments where I've been able to sit back with my father and have those conversations, and that to me is what hockey is really about. What makes it so unique, and so I think I would tell people make sure that you're finding joy in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think for roller hockey especially, it's like the summer is jam packed. So going off kind of what you said, it's the memories. So you got to make the memories in the summer.
Yeah.
And whether it's a rough 3-game set and you're 0-3, but it's like you have the time in between games. You have as you're a kid, you got the hotel life at a tournament, right? And that's whether it's knee hockey or it's running around the hotel playing tag. It's like remembering those times, and as long as you're working hard, go have fun as a kid. Like after games and stuff like that.
Look, I've never been a firm believer of like the ends justifying the means. For me, it's always been about the journey. And wins, losses, ties, whatever the records may be. For us, when we go out, and I can speak for our team, when we go out on these weekends, we're preparing for a great time out with these guys. They're sacrificing time away from their work, their lives, their families in some cases, their wives and girlfriends and kids, and like, we always make sure that like they're well accommodated. We want them to have fun, enjoy themselves, and get a little bit of reprieve from the everyday. And so, we want that time for them to just be a fun experience.
Yeah.
No matter what the outcome breeds.
So does that mean you stop taking the pepperonis off of White Ox pizza?
Yeah, not that guy. That guy gets nothing. That guy's lucky if he gets if he's got a hot pocket in the microwave, like I got no problem taking food out of that guy's mouth.
But Ken, I appreciate you joining me today. I know you don't usually do podcasts, but I had a lot of fun talking to you.
No, it's all good. I had a lot of fun too, man. It's been good. It's been a really good experience. So, you can have me on anytime you want.
Hey, I'll take you up on that one.
Yeah, we just got to work on the technical difficulties.
Yeah, there's some technical difficulties. New setup. I'll work through it. I don't know if it's my end, your end. I'll figure it out.
We got to get you a Sonos sponsorship or
Maybe if I plug all the plugs for my computer into a lightning rod energy drink.
Yeah, maybe if you start like hawking and promoting Best Buy or they might get on board this podcast.
Yeah. Sponsored by Geek Squad.
Yeah, Geek Squad. Yeah.
Well,
it's been good.
As usual, I appreciate anyone who's watching. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Leave comments. I always enjoy reading them. So, if you're forechecking in roller hockey, don't let up, because there's no offsides. I'm Dan Dean. Ken, thanks for joining, man. Appreciate you.
It's been a blast. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right.